Hey everyone, welcome back to English Podcast for Listening and Speaking. Today we're diving into something honest and uncomfortable. How to master your emotions in English conversations. My name is Alec.
Hey friends, it's Abby here. Let's start with a question. Have you ever finished an English conversation and then replayed the most awkward moment in your head 100 times?
You know that scene. You say something slightly strange. There's a weird silence, maybe one confused face, and later you think, wow, that was so awkward. Why did I say that?
Sometimes it feels almost physically painful, right? Your shoulders tense, your stomach twists, and the memory is totally cringe-worthy, like watching an embarrassing video of yourself on repeat.
And what's wild is that often the other person barely remembers it. But your brain turns that tiny moment into a full emotional disaster movie with dramatic music and slow motion.
Today's episode is called How to Master Your Emotions in English Conversations. And it's part of our series on Real Conversations, How to Handle Awkward Moments.
Our mission in this episode is simple. Help you feel more grounded, more composed, and more confident when you speak English, especially when conversations feel tense or uncomfortable.
Before we go deeper, can we ask a small favor? If you enjoy this kind of real emotional English practice, please like this episode, subscribe, and share it with a friend.
When you like, share, and comment, you're not just being polite. You're actually helping YouTube recommend this show to more learners who need emotional support in their English journey.
All right, let's get really honest for a second. What kind of English situations hit your emotional buttons the hardest? Job interviews, team meetings, one-on-ones with your manager, or maybe small talk at parties?
Maybe it's phone calls. A lot of learners tell me phone calls are terrifying. No body language, no facial expressions, just a disembodied voice, and your imagination going wild.
Or maybe you're fine in casual conversations, but the moment you need to disagree, or say no, or give criticism in English, your heart starts racing like crazy.
That racing heart is your nervous system saying, warning, possible danger. It sees the conversation as a threat, not just a chat. That's why your brain suddenly feels strangely empty.
And that's where emotions and language crash into each other. You feel vulnerable, like your whole identity and intelligence are being judged based on these few sentences in a second language.
Vulnerable is a great word here. It means open, exposed, without armor. Speaking English often feels vulnerable because you can't express yourself as perfectly as in your first language.
Then your thoughts start to escalate. You go from, that was a little awkward, to, I sounded stupid, to, people will never take me seriously in English. That's a heavy emotional jump.
Escalate means to increase in intensity. Your stress doesn't stay small, it grows, and your brain pushes the emotional volume higher and higher until you feel overwhelmed.
You can't think clearly, your chest feels tight, your palms are sweaty, and your mouth suddenly feels dry. Your whole body joins the emotional drama.
And of course, in that state, your English gets worse, your vocabulary hides, your grammar shakes, and your sentences become shorter and less precise than your real thoughts.
Then later, you feel self-conscious. You start watching yourself like a critic. You judge your accent, your timing, your word choice, and somehow every tiny mistake becomes huge in your memory.
So here's a big idea for this episode. Your English usually isn't as bad as you think. The real problem is that your emotions hijack your English in important moments.
When your emotional brain grabs the steering wheel, your logical brain and your language skills get pushed into the back seat. They're still there, just not driving anymore.
That's why we want to talk about emotional control today. Not cold control, not robot control, but warm, smart control that lets you stay human and also stay clear.
By the end of this episode, you'll have 3 simple techniques you can use in real time. The tactical pause, with the 4, 7, 8 breath, name it to tame it, and focus outward, not inward.
We'll also explore strong emotional vocabulary like awkward, cringe-worthy, vulnerable, defensive, triggered, grounded, reassured, misinterpret, and composed, all inside natural conversation.
And we'll touch real grammar, the spoken way. You'll hear opinion starters like, I feel like, from my perspective, and natural second conditionals like, if I stayed calmer, I'd sound more confident.
We won't talk about grammar formulas. We'll show you how these structures appear in real emotional sentences that you can actually use at work, school, or in daily life.
So let me ask you, listening right now, if you could change one thing about your emotional reactions in English, what would it be? Less panic, less anger, less shame, more courage.
And if you could feel just 10% more confident in stressful conversations, how different would your life look? Would you speak more in meetings, ask more questions, or stand up for your ideas?
I'd argue that emotional control might be even more important than perfect grammar. A calm but imperfect sentence can persuade people. A panicked perfect sentence often does not.
Emotional control is also a skill. It's not magic, it's not personality, it's training. You can practice it, improve it, and slowly rewrite the story your brain tells during difficult conversations.
Many learners feel defensive or ashamed after tense English moments. Some even avoid promotions or opportunities because they're afraid of those strong emotional reactions returning.
Our goal in this episode is to help you feel a bit more grounded so you can build bridges, not walls, in your English conversations, even when topics are sensitive or awkward.
So, as you listen, keep one real situation in mind. Maybe it's a conversation with your boss, a class discussion, or a disagreement with a coworker. Imagine using today's tools there.
And please, when this episode ends, leave us a comment describing that situation. You don't need to share every detail, just enough that we can cheer for you and maybe give a suggestion.
All right, we've talked about what happens on the outside. In the next section, we're going to open the door to the inside and ask, why does your brain react like this again and again?
We'll explore that emotional emergency button in your head and show you that you're not broken. Your brain is just doing its job a little too intensely.
Take a small breath, maybe relax your shoulders a bit, and stay with us. Understanding the why will make the how much easier to practice.
So, let's get into the painful part. Why does this keep happening? Why do you freeze, ramble, or panic almost every time a conversation really matters in English?
Imagine this. You're in a meeting, your manager says, "What do you think?" For a moment, your ideas are clear, then suddenly everything inside your head goes totally blank.
Instead of sharing your smart, complex idea, you give a short, safe answer. Later, you feel frustrated and maybe a little ashamed, thinking, I sounded like a beginner.
Or picture a social situation. Someone makes a joke, you misunderstand, laugh at the wrong time, and the air instantly feels awkward. You feel exposed, like everyone noticed your mistake.
That awkward feeling can be so cringe-worthy. It's like your brain replays the exact second when you laughed, zoomed in, with subtitles saying, "Why did you do that?"
In those moments, you don't just feel confused, you feel vulnerable. Vulnerable means emotionally open, unprotected, like there's no shield between you and other people's opinions.
When you feel that vulnerable, your brain's favorite question is, what if they think I'm stupid? And once that thought appears, your emotions start to escalate fast.
Escalate means grow stronger and more intense. Your stress rises, your heart beats harder, and a small mistake suddenly feels like a huge personal failure.
You might become defensive without even noticing. Defensive means you feel under attack, so you protect yourself maybe by arguing too strongly or avoiding eye contact and shutting down.
Maybe you interrupt, talk over people, or speak way too loudly because you're trying to prove you're not weak. Or you go completely quiet to avoid more embarrassment.
And of course, English gets harder in that state. Your brain stops offering nice vocabulary. You say basic words like good, bad, thing, instead of the smarter words you actually know.
Then your inner critic shows up. That voice says, "My grammar is terrible. My accent is horrible. I always sound childish." It's like having a rude commentator in your head.
Let me ask you, when something goes wrong in English, what do you usually blame first? Your grammar, your vocabulary, your accent, or simply your entire personality?
Many learners tell me, my accent is the problem. But honestly, I think the real problem is panic, not pronunciation. Panic makes your accent sound worse than it truly is.
If you were calmer, people would understand you more easily, even with an accent. Calm voices are easier to follow. Panicked voices feel rushed, tight, and hard to process.
Another painful moment is being misunderstood. You say something you believe is polite, and suddenly someone looks offended. You realize they might have misinterpreted your intention.
Misinterpret means understand in the wrong way. You tried to be direct, they heard you as rude. You tried to be funny, they heard you as insensitive.
After a few of those moments, your brain starts building a story. I'm always awkward in English. I always mess up. I should talk less to stay safe.
That story is dangerous because your brain loves patterns. If it believes I'm bad at conversations, it will keep looking for proof and ignoring moments when you do well.
Over time, you start to feel overwhelmed. Overwhelmed means there's too much emotion at once, too much shame, fear, confusion. It feels like a big wave crashing over your head.
In that overwhelmed state, it's almost impossible to think clearly. Your English ability hasn't actually disappeared, but your access to it is blocked by emotional noise.
And then comes another big feeling, being self-conscious. Self-conscious means you're watching yourself from the outside, judging your words, your face, your body language every second.
When you're self-conscious, you're not truly present in the conversation. You're half here, half inside your head, imagining how weird or incompetent you might look.
Let's be honest, that's exhausting. No wonder so many learners avoid speaking unless absolutely necessary. They're not just afraid of mistakes, they're afraid of emotional pain.
But avoiding doesn't solve the problem. If you avoid conversations, you lose practice. With less practice, you feel even weaker next time. The cycle becomes stronger and stronger.
So every new conversation carries extra pressure. It's not just one moment. It's carrying the weight of every previous awkward situation you've never emotionally processed.
Another common feeling is being triggered. Triggered means a small thing, like a comment about your accent, sets off a big emotional reaction, bigger than the situation really deserves.
Someone might casually say, "Oh, where are you from?" Or, "Your accent is strong." And suddenly you feel angry, embarrassed, or deeply insecure, even if they didn't mean harm.
If you didn't already have painful experiences, that comment wouldn't hurt so much. Your emotional history attaches itself to each new conversation, making everything heavier.
So it's not just the current conversation. It's yesterday's embarrassment, last month's misunderstanding, the exam where you froze, the boss who spoke too fast. All those memories gather together.
Let's compare two realities. In the first, you keep believing, I'm just terrible at conversations, and you stay stuck. In the second, you think, my emotions escalate, and I can train them.
That second reality is much more hopeful. You're not broken, you're just overloaded. If you can lower the emotional volume, your English will sound more natural, more professional, more you.
So, here's a reflective question for you. When you think about your worst awkward English moment, what emotion was loudest? Fear, shame, anger, frustration, something else?
And second question, what do you usually do with that emotion? Do you bury it, laugh it off, complain, or learn from it? Be honest with yourself for a moment.
If you only blame grammar and vocabulary, you'll miss the real issue. Emotional patterns cause many of the problems you experience in English conversations, especially in serious contexts.
The encouraging news is this: patterns can be changed. If they can escalate, they can also de-escalate. Emotions can come down, not just go up.
De-escalate means bring the intensity down. When you de-escalate inside yourself, you automatically de-escalate the whole conversation. Your calmness spreads outward.
In the next part, we'll look at what's happening inside your brain when everything feels like an emergency. Once you understand that, you can stop blaming yourself so harshly.
You'll see that your brain isn't evil. It's just pressing a big red emergency button too quickly and too often, especially in English.
Stay with us. Take one gentle breath. You're not alone with these feelings, and you're definitely not hopeless. We're going to explore the why behind all this next.
Okay, we've talked about the pain and the patterns. Now let's look inside your head and meet the real troublemaker. Your brain's emotional emergency button.
I love that image. Just imagine a huge red button in your brain that says, "Panic in English," and it lights up the second someone asks you a difficult question.
When that button gets pressed, your body goes into what people call fight or flight mode. Your system prepares either to attack or to escape as fast as possible.
The funny thing is, your brain can't really tell the difference between a tiger in the jungle and your boss asking, "Can you explain your idea again, more clearly?"
Exactly. It hears potential danger to your status or belonging and reacts like, "We might die of embarrassment, hit the button now." So your heart races and your breath shortens.
In that state, your body is not interested in advanced vocabulary. It wants speed and survival, not nuance. So your sentences become shorter, simpler, and often less accurate.
You might think, my English is disappearing, But actually, your nervous system is just prioritizing survival over communication. It's annoying, but it's logical from the brain's perspective.
If your brain didn't hit that emergency button so hard, you'd have better access to your grammar, your creativity, and your sense of humor during conversations.
Humor is powerful in awkward moments. A small, gentle joke can de-escalate tension and make everyone feel more human, but panic kills humor very quickly.
When that red button is on, your focus narrows. You see every frown, every confused eyebrow, but you completely miss the little smiles and nods of encouragement.
Your brain is scanning for danger, not for safety. It's like having a security guard who only reports problems and never says, "Hey, things are mostly fine here."
If that security guard were more balanced, you'd feel reassured. Reassure means make someone feel safer or calmer, like telling yourself, "They're listening, they're not attacking me."
Another problem is memory. Under stress, your working memory shrinks. That's the part of your mind that holds words and ideas while you're speaking.
So you forget simple vocabulary you absolutely know. Later, at home, everything returns and you think, "Seriously? I couldn't remember that word in the meeting?"
Here's a useful second conditional. If your brain didn't treat every difficult conversation like a threat, you'd sound much more like your true, intelligent self.
And another one. If you trusted that awkward moments are survivable, you'd take more risks, speak more often, and grow faster in your English.
There's also a social part. Your brain is terrified of rejection. For humans, rejection feels dangerous, like being pushed out of the group and left alone.
So when someone criticizes your idea or corrects your English, your brain thinks, "They might reject me." That thought presses the emergency button even harder.
If you believe deeply, "I belong in this room, even with mistakes," the button would be less sensitive. It wouldn't light up for every little misunderstanding.
Let's compare two versions of you. In one version, your emergency button is ultra-sensitive, and you react strongly to every raised eyebrow. Conversations feel exhausting and draining.
In the second version, the button still exists, but it's less reactive. You still feel nervous, but you stay grounded enough to think, "This is uncomfortable, not dangerous."
Grounded means stable, centered, emotionally on your feet. A grounded person feels emotion but doesn't get completely knocked over by every comment or confused expression.
If you were more grounded, you'd notice when your emotions rise and think, "Okay, my system is overreacting. I can breathe. I can slow down. I can still speak clearly."
Another piece is interpretation. When the emergency button is on, you interpret neutral things as negative. A simple from your boss suddenly means, "I hate your idea."
If your brain were calmer, you might hear that same as, "I'm thinking, give me more details." Same sound, completely different emotional meaning.
So the enemy isn't the conversation. The real challenge is the story your brain tells during the conversation. The emergency button writes that story very dramatically.
Let's be kind to your brain for a second. It's not trying to hurt you. It's trying to protect your identity, your status, and your relationships. It just uses outdated methods.
Right. It acts like you're still in a village where one public mistake means you're thrown out forever. In modern life, one awkward comment rarely destroys your whole future.
So what we want to do is update the software. We're teaching the brain, "Hey, thank you for protecting me." But these conversations are training, not life or death situations.
If you started seeing conversations as practice instead of exams, you'd feel less terrified and more curious. Curiosity is such a powerful opposite to panic.
When you're curious, you ask, "What does this person really mean? What do they need? How can we solve this together?" That outward focus calms the inner chaos.
We'll talk about focus more in the techniques section, but remember this. Your emergency button loves drama and self-focus. Your wiser side loves curiosity and connection.
Another useful comparative. The more you believe, "I can handle awkwardness," the less intense each awkward moment feels. The less you practice handling it, the more terrifying it becomes.
So the goal isn't to remove the emergency button. That's impossible and actually unsafe. The goal is to make it more intelligent, more realistic, less dramatic.
If your brain only pressed the button for real danger, not every mildly uncomfortable sentence, your emotional life in English would be easier, lighter, and more flexible.
Question for you. If your brain had an actual physical panic button, what English situation would hit it fastest? Presentations, interviews, disagreements, or maybe phone calls?
Think about that answer. That's your personal training ground. That's where emotional work will give you the biggest reward for your effort.
In the next section, we'll move from understanding to action. We'll give you 3 specific techniques to calm your nervous system while you're speaking, not just afterward.
These techniques are simple enough to remember in the middle of a stressful conversation, and powerful enough to slowly retrain that emergency button.
Take one small breath with us now. Inhale, exhale slowly. Your brain is not broken. It just needs new habits. And that's exactly what we'll start building next.
All right, we've met the emergency button. Now let's talk about how to work with it, not against it, during real English conversations.
We're going to give you 3 tools. The tactical pause with 4-7-8 breathing, name it to tame it, and focus outward, not inward. All simple, all powerful.
Think of these as emotional techniques you can carry into meetings, interviews, presentations, or even uncomfortable chats with friends and family in English.
Let's start with technique 1, the tactical pause and the 4-7-8 breath. This is your instant reset button when panic hits your body.
Usually, when you feel panic, your instinct is to rush. You speak faster, answer immediately, and try to escape the silence as quickly as possible.
But rushing is like pouring gasoline on your anxiety. Your words get tangled, your pronunciation becomes unclear, and your brain feels even more out of control.
So instead, you create a tactical pause. Tactical means strategic, on purpose, not accidental. You choose to slow down for a second.
You might say, "That's a really good question. Let me think for a moment." Simple, polite, and incredibly powerful when you mean it.
Or you take a slow sip of water, looking calm on the outside. No one knows that inside, you're pressing your own private reset button.
Inside that pause, you use the 4-7-8 breath. Let's walk through it slowly, so your body understands, not just your brain.
First, gently place the tip of your tongue on the roof of your mouth, just behind your front teeth. Keep it there during the whole exercise.
Now breathe in quietly through your nose for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Imagine the air filling your belly, not just your chest.
Hold that breath for a count of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It might feel long, but stay with it gently.
Then breathe out completely through your mouth for a count of 8, making a soft whoosh sound, like slowly blowing out a candle.
That long exhale is the secret weapon. It tells your nervous system we are not in mortal danger, we can slow down now.
Even 1 or 2 rounds can reduce the intensity of your panic. You won't feel like a Zen master, but you'll feel less hijacked and more able to choose words.
If I were your coach, I'd ask you to practice 4-7-8 when you're calm too, maybe before bed or while walking, so it becomes automatic.
All right, technique 2, name it to tame it. This one works directly with that emotional storm inside your chest and your head.
Emotions feel gigantic when they're blurry and unnamed. It's just, everything is terrible. When you label them, they become more specific and somehow smaller.
Instead of, "I'm a disaster," you silently say, "I'm noticing a strong feeling of anxiety in my chest right now. Do you hear the difference in tone?"
Or, "I'm having the thought that they might judge me, and I feel a wave of fear." You separate thoughts and feelings instead of mixing everything together.
When you do that, you move the experience from your emotional brain to your thinking brain. You don't erase the emotion, but you reduce its power.
You're no longer the emotion itself. You're the observer. You're not anger. You're a person noticing anger passing through your body for a few minutes.
That position gives you choices. You can feel fear and still say, "I'd like to share my perspective," instead of staying silent for the rest of the meeting.
Now technique 3. Focus outward, not inward. Anxiety loves to trap your attention inside your own head and body.
You start monitoring every tiny detail, your heartbeat, your sweaty palms, your accent, each grammar mistake, your manager's facial expression, your imaginary reputation.
That inner monitoring feeds the panic. The more you watch yourself, the more awkward you feel, and the less you actually hear the other person.
So you flip the focus. You ask, what does this person really care about? What problem are we trying to solve together in this conversation?
You listen for keywords that reveal their real concern. Deadline, quality, budget, misunderstanding, safety, feelings, expectations. You build your response around those words.
You also watch their body language. Are they leaning forward, relaxed, tense, avoiding eye contact, nodding, frowning? These clues show you how they're feeling, not just what they're saying.
Then you reflect their message back. So, if I understand you correctly, your main concern is the timing, or you're worried about the data, right?
When you do that, something magical happens. Your brain becomes curious, and curiosity pushes panic aside. You can't stay totally panicked and truly curious at the same time.
Also, you instantly become a better communicator. People feel heard and understood, so they become more open, less defensive, and more willing to cooperate with you.
To make this more real, let's bring in a fictional learner, Mia, who struggles with speaking in meetings. We'll show how the techniques work in her situation.
Honestly, in meetings, when my manager asks, "What do you think?" my heart explodes. My English disappears, and I give a simple answer that sounds childish.
Mia, that sounds exhausting. What usually happens afterward, when the meeting ends and you're alone with your thoughts?
I replay everything and feel ashamed. I think, if I were more confident, I'd sound smarter. I always stay too safe and quiet.
Let's imagine your next meeting. When your manager asks for your opinion, what could you say to create a tactical pause instead of rushing?
Maybe I could say, "That's an important point. Let me think for a second," and take a slow breath or a sip of water.
Perfect. Inside that pause, you can do one round of 4-7-8 breathing. From the outside, you look thoughtful. On the inside, you're rebooting your nervous system.
Then you can use name it to tame it. Inside your mind, you quietly say, "I'm noticing fear of being judged right now. It's just a feeling, not a fact."
That sentence already feels kinder. It's not "I'm useless," it's "I'm feeling fear." The fear becomes something I can handle, not my whole identity.
Now for focus outward. Instead of thinking, "My accent is horrible," you ask, "What is my manager actually worried about in this discussion?"
Maybe he's worried about delays, so I could answer, "I think we should adjust this part so we don't slow down the schedule later."
Exactly. You're not performing English. You're helping solve a real problem. That feels more meaningful and less like a scary exam.
For you listening, Mia's situation might feel familiar. Meetings, presentations, speaking up, these are classic panic zones. But the same 3 techniques work anywhere.
You can use them in interviews, when someone criticizes your idea, when you need to say no, or when a conversation suddenly becomes emotional or awkward.
So, which technique feels easiest for you to start with? The tactical pause, name it to tame it, or focus outward?
Tell us in the comments. And remember, you don't have to master everything today. Choose one technique and practice it in small, low-pressure conversations first.
The more often you practice, the more your brain learns, okay, we can handle this. We don't need to smash the panic button every single time.
In the next section, we'll show you how all 3 techniques come together in a real story about Anna, a software engineer facing a high-stakes meeting in English.
Her story will help you see how emotional control can completely change not just a conversation, but how people see you and how you see yourself. Now, let's take everything we've talked about and put it into one real situation. I want you to meet Anna, a brilliant but anxious software engineer.
Anna is smart. She writes clean code, spots bugs quickly, and understands complicated systems. But whenever she speaks English in meetings, her emotions explode like fireworks.
Before every weekly planning meeting, her stomach knots up. She thinks, "Please don't ask me a question. Please don't make me explain anything in detail."
When someone does ask her something, her heart races, her face gets hot, and her brain responds with its favorite move, pressing that big red panic button.
Her English instantly feels weaker. She gives short, basic answers, even though in her native language she'd give strong, clear, persuasive explanations. That mismatch frustrates her deeply.
One day, there's a big meeting about a new feature. The lead developer presents a shiny plan that looks efficient and fast. Everyone seems impressed and quietly supportive.
But Anna notices something scary. The plan almost ignores data migration. She knows that if they ignore that problem now, the team could suffer massive issues later.
Old Anna would have stayed quiet. She would have thought, if I speak up and sound stupid, they'll never respect me again, and then silently carried the stress home.
But this time, things are different. Anna has been practicing the 3 techniques we talked about. She promised herself she'd try them in the next important meeting.
As the lead developer finishes, he asks, Any concerns? The room goes quiet. Anna feels a wave of fear rise from her chest to her throat.
Her emergency button lights up, but instead of surrendering, she remembers technique 1, the tactical pause. She doesn't speak immediately. She takes a slow sip of water.
While she pretends to think, she quietly does one round of 4-7-8 breathing. In for 4, hold for 7, out for 8 with a gentle exhale.
Her heartbeat doesn't completely calm, but it slows enough. The fog in her brain clears just slightly, like opening a small window in a stuffy room.
Then she uses technique 2, name it to tame it. Inside her head, she tells herself, I'm noticing fear of being judged. It's just a feeling, not the truth.
That sentence creates distance. The fear is still there, but it's no longer her entire reality. She is Anna, and she is feeling fear. She's not only fear.
Next, she uses technique 3, focus outward, not inward. She stops obsessing about her accent and starts thinking about the project's real needs.
She asks herself, what is this meeting truly about? What does the team need from me? The answer appears clearly. They need someone to protect long-term data safety.
So she decides to speak, even with fear. She starts softly. I can see how this plan helps us launch faster. Everyone looks at her. Her voice stays steady.
That first sentence is important. It shows respect. She's not attacking the plan or the person. She's joining the conversation, not fighting against it.
Then she continues, I'm curious, have we considered the data migration in phase 2? I'm worried we might face serious issues later if we skip planning that part now.
Notice her language. I'm curious. I'm worried. Those are emotional but calm phrases. She's honest about her concern without sounding aggressive or arrogant.
The room goes quiet again, but this time the silence feels thoughtful, not hostile. You can almost feel the entire team mentally testing her question.
The lead developer frowns slightly, then says, That's a good point. I haven't fully mapped that part yet. Maybe we should explore that risk properly.
Suddenly, the energy shifts. People lean forward, ask follow-up questions, and start brainstorming solutions. The conversation becomes collaborative, not defensive.
If Anna had stayed silent, they would have moved forward with a weak plan. Her emotional control literally changed the direction of the project.
After the meeting, the lead developer walks over and says, I'm really glad you raised that. We need people who think ahead like you.
That sentence hits her hard in a new way. For years she believed, I'm the nervous one who can't speak. Now she hears, I'm the strategic one who protects the team.
Let's imagine Anna sitting here with us for a moment, reflecting on that experience, so you can hear how it felt from the inside.
Honestly, I was still scared during that meeting. My hands were slightly shaking, but the breathing gave me enough space to think instead of just panicking.
When you told yourself, I'm noticing fear, did that change anything in the moment for you?
It did. The fear stopped feeling like a monster. It felt more like a strong wave. I thought, okay, this is fear, but I can still talk.
And when you focused on the project instead of your accent, how did that affect your confidence?
It helped a lot. I wasn't trying to impress anyone with perfect English. I was trying to protect the project. That felt meaningful, bigger than my embarrassment.
Did you make any language mistakes while speaking? Be honest.
Haha, yes, I did. I mixed tenses once and my pronunciation wasn't perfect. But nobody cared. They were focused on the risk I was highlighting.
That's powerful. Your value came from your insight, not from a flawless sentence. Your emotional control made your English good enough to carry your message.
For you listening, I want you to notice something important here. If Anna had waited to feel zero fear, she would have stayed silent forever.
She didn't wait to become a different person. She spoke with fear, but not from fear. The fear was present, but it didn't drive the car.
Here's a second conditional that fits her situation perfectly. If Anna hadn't used those 3 techniques, she would have stayed quiet and the team would have missed a serious risk.
And another one, if she keeps practicing emotional control, she'll become more confident, more respected, and more influential in every future English meeting.
Let me ask you, listener, what is your Anna moment? Can you picture a future situation where you speak up calmly, even while feeling nervous?
Maybe it's an interview where you say, I'd like to share a different perspective, or a meeting where you say, I'm concerned about this part of the plan.
If you imagine that scene clearly, you just practiced emotional rehearsal. Your brain is already preparing for a different type of reaction next time.
Emotional control isn't about killing your feelings, it's about directing them. Anna still cared deeply, but now her care made her speak, not hide.
And the same can be true for you. If you trained your brain gently, again and again, you'd slowly become the person who speaks with fear, but also with purpose.
In our final section, we'll recap the 3 techniques, give you some memorable lines to carry with you, and challenge you to try this in your next real conversation.
Stay with us a little longer. You've come this far. You're already rewriting the way you see yourself in English. The last part will help you turn this into action. All right, we've walked through the pain, the brain science, the techniques, and Anna's story. Now let's turn all of that into your personal action plan.
First, let's say this clearly. Mastering your emotions in English doesn't mean becoming cold. It means becoming kinder, smarter, and more intentional about how you respond.
Your feelings are not defects, they're signals. They say, this conversation matters, this person matters. Your identity and your future feel connected to this moment.
When you treat emotions as signals instead of enemies, you stop attacking yourself. You start asking, what is this feeling trying to tell me, and how can I respond wisely?
Let's recap our 3 techniques in simple, spoken language so you can carry them into your next conversation without needing notes or a textbook.
Technique 1. Tactical pause with 4-7-8 breathing. When panic rises, don't rush. Create space. Say, let me think for a second, and then use your breath as a reset.
Inhale through your nose for 4 counts, hold for 7, exhale through your mouth for 8. That long exhale tells your body, we're under pressure, but we're not in danger.
Technique 2. Name it to tame it. Silently label what's happening inside you. I'm noticing anxiety. I'm feeling defensive. I'm having the thought that they might judge me.
That language moves the experience into your thinking brain. You're no longer drowning in emotion. You're standing on a little island, watching the waves pass by.
Technique 3. Focus outward, not inward. Instead of obsessing about your accent or your mistakes, focus on the person and the goal you share with them.
Ask yourself, what matters to them? What problem are we solving together? Listen for their key words, reflect their concerns, and answer those concerns, not your own fear.
If you used just these 3 tools regularly, your emotional life in English would shift from chaotic and overwhelming to intense but manageable, uncomfortable but under your direction.
Let's add some memorable lines you can keep in your mind, or maybe even share with friends who struggle the way you do.
Here's the first one. Your accent isn't the main problem. Your panic is. When you calm your panic, your English suddenly sounds more intelligent, clear, and authentically you.
And another. An English conversation is not a grammar exam. It's a bridge between 2 human brains trying to understand each other as honestly as they can.
Those are not just pretty sentences. They're perspectives. If you believed them, you'd treat yourself more gently and approach conversations with more curiosity than fear.
Let's bring in some gentle grammar, the spoken way. You can coach yourself using modal verbs. I should pause before answering. I could breathe before I react. I might listen more.
You can also use second conditionals to imagine a better future. If I stayed calmer, I'd sound more confident. If I weren't so hard on myself, I'd enjoy conversations more.
Those sentences are not fantasies. They're invitations. Every time you think them, you tell your brain, there is another possible version of me and I'm walking toward it.
Let's be honest. Change is not instant. You won't go from panicking to perfectly calm in one episode. But small emotional wins add up, conversation after conversation.
Maybe tomorrow you still feel nervous, but you remember to pause. Maybe next week you still shake, but you name your fear instead of obeying it. That's real progress.
I want you to picture a future version of yourself 6 months from now. Still imperfect, still emotional, but more grounded, more composed, more willing to speak with fear.
If that future version of you could talk to you right now, I think they'd say, please don't give up. All this practice is building something powerful inside you.
Now, here's our concrete challenge. In your very next English conversation, choose one technique to try. Just one. Tactical pause, name it to tame it, or focus outward.
After that conversation, take 60 seconds and reflect. Ask, did I feel even slightly more in control? Did I react a little slower, a little kinder, a little braver?
If the answer is yes, celebrate that. Seriously, smile and say, that was progress. Emotional training grows faster with celebration than with constant self-criticism.
We also want to hear from you. What's the hardest emotional situation for you in English? Disagreeing, apologizing, negotiating, asking for help, giving feedback, small talk?
Tell us in the comments. Your story might be exactly what another listener needs to read to feel less alone and more hopeful about their own emotional struggles.
And if this episode helped you even a little, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with one person who gets anxious speaking English.
When you do that, you're not just supporting us. You're helping build a community where learners talk honestly about fear, shame, awkwardness, and courage in English.
Let's remember some of today's comparatives. More confident, less defensive, more grounded, less overwhelmed. You don't have to jump to perfect. You just move a little more in that direction.
If you could be 5% more grounded in your next conversation, would that change how you speak? Would it change how you feel when it's over?
I genuinely believe that if you saw yourself the way we see you, a courageous learner facing complex emotional challenges, you'd treat yourself with much more respect and patience.
Final thought from me. You are more powerful than your panic. Your emotions are loud, but they don't get the final word. You do. Your choices do.
And my final thought, if you treat every awkward moment as training instead of proof that you're failing, you'll become not just more fluent, but more emotionally fluent. That's real success.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us on English Podcast for Listening and Speaking. We're honestly proud of you for listening all the way to the end.
Take a breath, pick one technique, and carry it into your next English conversation. We'll be here in your earbuds, cheering for you from the sidelines.
Bye for now, and don't forget to comment. Which technique will you try first, and in what real situation will you test your new emotional control in English?